All right, we are here at Comcast Plaza live. Beautiful day outside as we get ready for Eagles football, just about 9 days away. We are excited. Amy Fadool alongside Barrett Brooks, John Clark, and Ashlyn Sullivan. We got a big pep rally. There's a Mr. Softy truck. Everybody's excited about that. But first of all, guys, how excited are you for the season?
Woo! Let's go. My fault, y'all. My fault.
I knew that was going to happen.
We are right around the corner of another legendary time with the Eagles going into this year.
John,
I'm telling you right now.
We talk about it all summer, but it is now time to actually talk about real football. It is just 9 days away. We all know today is a big day around the NFL. We'll be keeping abreast of the cuts that are going on as they have to get down to the 53-man roster at 4 o'clock. But the excitement, you've been out. We see all the fans. Everybody's really excited for this, as they should be.
Yeah, and everybody says, can they do it again?
Right.
And I believe that people are thinking they actually can, more so than the first time they won the Super Bowl. And by the way, I mean, the NFL could not have scripted it better with the Dallas Cowboys coming to the Link for the season opener. Jerry Jones will be watching that Super Bowl banner unveiled at the Link. So I think everybody's completely fired up. This would be the first time, though, that the NFC East has a repeat division winner in like 20-plus years since the Eagles did it. So it's going to be tough, but I do sense the belief from everybody around here they can go back-to-back.
As they should. I mean, Ashlyn, you were at training camp, and you could see it. There was only really maybe like 3 or 4 camp battles when you're thinking about it, and that's unusual for us here. But those are really good battles at this point. And so even the players, I think, have to feel like they have something special going.
Right. I think it's so rare. I mean, we were talking about it at a training camp every day. We watched maybe the first 6 practices, and I was like, all right, we've seen enough.
Yep.
It was almost mundane, boring in the most perfect way because there wasn't a lot of storylines. This team is returning basically their entire offense. You have some questions on defense, but you're looking around the league at contract disputes and quarterback battles and all this stuff, and the Eagles are business as usual, which is a beautiful thing, but it did get a little boring out there.
Yeah, sitting pretty.
She wanted sit-ups in the driveway.
Oh,
yeah,
come on, let's do that.
Be careful what you wish for, because you can see the drama that's unfolding down there in Dallas. I know we've got some fans out there that are going to weigh in. We have our man on the scene, Spencer McKercher, the Cobra. I don't know where the Cobra
right over there.
is.
There's the Cobra.
There he is. Cobra, you got some questions for us?
We do, guys. Hey, we got our first question. Frank from Northeast. He wants to ask you guys about the schedule.
The schedule.
Hi, everybody. This is a beautiful event. Thank you for having it. And go Eagles. Looking forward to the opener.
There we go.
But my question is, I know this schedule's really tough. And I noticed that there's no back-to-back home games throughout the entire season. I don't remember that ever happening in the past. If it did happen, but it has to be a long time ago, do you think that's going to have any effect on the Eagles as the season plays on, not having even 2 straight games at any point at home, back-to-back?
Frank, that's such a good question, because when you think about it, the schedule is so different than it used to be. I mean, Barrett, you played in the league for a long time. 1 o'clock games were the norm. The night games were the anomaly. Now, here, where you have a championship team, 1 o'clock games are the anomaly. But that's a great question by Frank. Do you think it would affect any of the guys because they're not going to be home in a row?
You know what? I mean, these guys are going to be on a schedule, and this schedule is one that they're not going to get used to being back-to-back, having back-to-back games. So it can work out as a positive and a negative. I think it's going to work out towards a positive because this team is very confident on what they bring to the table, how they're constructed, who their teammates are. So they're going to feel good about going into this season. Not having home games, that's something that I've never experienced before, I've never seen before. But this is the type of team that can handle it. You know, the culture in that locker room. They understand that, you know, in order for them to be built like they're the best, they've got to go into the season thinking they're the best no matter where and who they play.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing, when you're a winning team, they're going to put you on as much as they can get you in prime time. John, you travel with the team, which means you're not going to be home 2 weeks in a row. So I guess that's maybe not such good news for you. But, you know, being around this team, do you think that will affect them at all? Just the lack of kind of that maybe normalcy?
You know what? I don't, because I think being in Philadelphia, it's not normal because we have the most passionate football fans in the country.
And we're everywhere. So, like,
everywhere.
A home game, let's face it, sometimes it's still a road game, it's still a home game.
Yeah, but I think the toughness of the schedule can't be poo-pooed because that is why teams have such a hard time repeating as division winners. I mean, the Eagles have 11 games against playoff teams from last year. That's tied for the most ever in NFL history. And then 6 road games against really good playoff teams from last year. But the thing that I really like is that each of those 6 tough road games, they get extra rest going into them. Like when they go to Kansas City, they're on a mini bye.
Yeah.
And that's going to be throughout the
coming
season.
Off on Thursday.
Yeah,
Exactly.
extra rest. So I think that's going to help big, but it is a really, really tough schedule. You saw some of the games down the stretch last year where they're facing backups with the Cowboys, the Giants, and all this. It's going to be a lot tougher this year.
Yeah, when you looked at the schedule last year, they had that crux, right? It was like you're dealing with the Chiefs and the Bills and the Cowboys. Now it's almost like it's spread out too much, Ashlyn. You have a little bit of a tough schedule in the beginning, and then you have a tough one in the middle, and then a tough at the end. Do you think that helps them stay focused?
So I think the first 4 weeks are pretty brutal, truthfully.
Yeah.
And then I think we have to remember at the end of last season what a great thing it was that they didn't get on a plane for basically 2 months. They went and played the Commanders. They got on trains. They went and played the Giants. Now you have a massive game at the end of the season having to go to Buffalo in the snow, most likely, in the cold. We remember last year what an advantage that was, that it felt like we had 8 home games in a row, including the playoffs.
Right.
You're not going to have that this year. And I do think that's something to be mindful of. Is that was a huge advantage last year that I don't think we talked enough about. Is they didn't get on a plane until, what was it, November was the last time they got on a plane?
And you wonder how much that plays into how healthy they are, because when you're the healthiest team entering the playoffs, you're going to be the most successful team. They've been the most successful team because they have been so healthy. So you wonder how much that could play into it. So that's a really good question. But I feel like I'm with you, Barrett. Like the adversity that they're going to face, whatever we're going to call it, they're going to be able to rise up. I do want to ask you real quick, John, about some of the cuts, because there's maybe some surprises. Some people might have been surprised, and we talked about this on Bird's Huddle yesterday. Eli Ricks might have been a surprise, given the fact that he had been here a number of years and in Fangio's system. Do you think that was because of Bennett, or was just a guy that he just didn't live up to what they expected?
That's a good question. By the way, we're all monitoring our phones. We'll let you know of any cuts that we see. But, I mean, look, guys are drafted to come in and replace guys. So when they get Mac McWilliams here, for example, right? Okay, well, Eli Ricks is not measuring up to what another younger guy is bringing, and then they did trade for Jacorian Bennett, and I honestly think Jacorian Bennett, I think, eventually will be the starter.
Agreed.
Adoree Jackson's, a 9-year veteran, and then you had Keely Ringo. He hasn't won it. He's actually with the second team now. So they were looking for somebody to grab it. They didn't, and Jacorian Bennett, he's got the closing speed to be able to play outside corner, and I think his athleticism excites them the most, but you've got younger guys coming in every year, and they're looking for competition. And now a guy like Mac McWilliams has bumped out a guy like Eli.
And that's like, you have to grab it. They're giving you the competition, and they're not grabbing it.
Well, that's the problem. They haven't grabbed it. But I will tell everybody this. When you look at this team and you look at this cornerback position, it's not as bad as what we're thinking here.
Well,
we're thinking,
we're looking
doom
for
and
something.
gloom. Yes. Like, you got 2 of the best corners, and you got one of the best slot corners and one of the best outside corners in the NFL. And we're mad and all, like, oh, what's going on with this third cornerback position? This guy is a good cornerback. The 3 guys that are there are still good cornerbacks. It's just that they're not as good as the 2 guys on the other side. So you have good cornerback right there. Not everybody has 2 great cornerbacks, but we have 2 great ones, which kind of overshadows his third cornerback position. We'll be just fine there. These are good cornerbacks that are right there fighting for that position. They'll be okay going into this season.
Yeah, these are good problems to have.
Right.
We're talking about the third corner. I know we have another question on deck. There's our man. Hey, how's it going, Spence?
Good, Ames. How are you? Hanging in there?
Yeah.
Doing well.
Refreshed.
We got Pete here from Rochester, Pennsylvania. He's interested about Jalen Hurts' season and get a little younger on defense.
All right.
Yeah, will he win the MVP for the season and during the playoffs like he did last year? And will the defense, which is younger this year, we'll also have players, but I think the old players that we lost are going to regress over the next 3 years while we're getting stronger and younger.
Yeah, that's true. The defense is exceptionally young, and that's a great question about Jalen Hurts. Here's a guy that much maligned in the offseason. You wonder how much more he needs to do. He's outplayed Patrick Mahomes twice now in the Super Bowl, obviously has won. The MVP was a popular discussion because he's been in the conversation a number of times, and you do wonder how much does he pay attention to the outside stuff? Ashlyn, do you think he pays? I mean, it seems like he does a little bit because he refused to put on the ring. And so I think he uses certain things to motivate him. But I feel like some of the naysaying helps him.
I think he pays attention way more than he leads on and way more than he'll ever tell us. And I think that's a fantastic thing. We all know he's a very private person and he has a very strict personality when he's in the NovaCare complex. And I like that about him. I think he should continue to have doubts because look at the success he's had doing that. If all of a sudden he becomes this arrogant quarterback that uses this as fuel, I don't think that's going to help the Eagles. And to the question about the young defense, I do think we have to trust in Vic Fangio. There are major questions on defense, but I don't think it was a coincidence the first availability at training camp. Vic Fangio pointed out, hey, this is the exact same thing last year. And we did have a ton of questions. We were like, who the heck is Zach Bond? What's this guy going to be? So I do think we have to trust in this defensive coordinator. He sees something in these guys, allow it to develop a little bit.
Yeah, we did last year. I remember thinking at one point we were talking, we were like, well, maybe if they just get up to like 15th or 16th ranked defense in the league.
That'd be cool.
Hilarious. Wouldn't that be fun? Or we're just going to go ahead and take the number one spot there and stop talking about it. But Jalen Hurts has a lot of questions. John, you've been around the Eagles a long time covering them. Have you ever seen a quarterback get this much disrespect nationally? I know for Philadelphia, everyone hates us. We don't care.
McNabb took a lot of stuff from Eagles fans.
He took it from Eagles fans. But nationally, I feel like Eagles fans have to feel like they're like, why are we defending the guy who just won the Super Bowl? He's the Super Bowl MVP. And we're out here being like, yeah, he's better than Jared Goff. Why is that a sentence that I have to say out loud?
Yeah, and you said it. He outplayed Patrick Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls. He was the MVP of 2 Super Bowls if they had won that first one. And I remember asking Jalen at the Super Bowl week last year, I said, does it privately fuel you when people keep doubting you? Do you like it? And he said, it's no secret that he does like that. So Jordan Mailata also says, keep doubting him because it makes him better. We saw him being doubted, and then what does he do in the NFC title game, the Super Bowl, puts on a show in the passing game. So I like that people are continually doubting him. And when you win a Super Bowl, you kind of need that chip on your shoulder, that thing that gets you going again. You still need an edge, like I haven't arrived. And I think this is perfect where he's kind of getting that disrespect. Even Cam Newton. Newton.
A guy who's played the position at a high level.
And kind of like Jalen.
Stop it.
And he dissed him. So I think that will fuel Jalen. I agree with Ashlyn. He looks at it a lot more than we think because he says his scars from his past has always fueled him.
Well, it's funny. I always think about the other Jalen in the college ranks, Jalen Milroe, with let a naysayer know, something that his coach at Alabama told him about. You have to let these guys know with your play, and I feel like that's what Jalen does.
Yeah, I mean, he prepares himself. He makes himself the best version of himself every single year. He goes out. He works so hard. You're never going to find a better guy to work around because he's going to give you a pattern on how to work. And then you keep the guys around him. They see how hard he works. It becomes infectious, you know. He wants to be great. He surrounds himself with greatness. I mean, come on. You go out and hang out with Michael Jordan, the greatest NBA player to ever play. He goes and he calls Ashlyn. Yes, I mean, I say that, and I believe it. But I'm going to say this also. I mean, look at who he puts himself around.
True.
He calls one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game and talks to him.
Talking to Peyton Manning all the time.
So he wants to be great, and he does everything he needs to do to make sure that he's on that path of being great. Now they're going to ask him, all right, can you go out there? Can we have a balanced offense with 50-50, 50 passes and 50% running? If that comes into existence, it'll be the best team in the NFL. Period.
We'll have you on Sixers Talk to talk about the LeBron versus Michael Jordan thing a little bit later. But we've got a virtual question. Spence, what do you have for us from the online world?
Yeah, Ames, we got the comments rolling in here on streaming on YouTube, everywhere you're watching this. Sion Harris believes that Quinyon Mitchell will have 6 interceptions.
Wow.
And make a Pro Bowl and an All-Pro team.
Well,
do you guys believe the same?
Let's get him his first interception in the regular season, shall we?
Or how about 6?
But the thing is, I love the confidence because you talked about how stout like one side of that cornerback situation is, right? I mean, we saw that last year. They stopped throwing at him.
Yep.
That's the utmost respect. We all remember watching Darrelle Revis Island. Quinyon Mitchell, what do they call it? Quintanamo?
Yeah, Quintanamo Bay, yes.
But here's a guy, John, that lived up to the hype. He was a guy that was rated the number 1 corner coming out of college, even though he went to Toledo. He didn't go to Alabama to transfer, and he comes in and plays at that level really quickly. I think that surprised a lot of people. There is the worry sometimes about the sophomore slump, but he doesn't seem to be that kind of guy. He seems to be a guy that's really self-driven.
Now, and it is truly amazing that those 2 draft picks Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean helped them win a Super Bowl in the first year. If they did not have them or those draft picks didn't work out, they're not winning a Super Bowl. And the thing that the guys say about Quinyon this year, they see he has even more confidence. Remember, he was trash talking A.J. Brown when he first came
Loved
to
it.
camp? Well, he has even more confidence this year. And I asked him why he has more confidence. He says because of his preparation. And he says he now recognizes so many things when the offense is lining up, splits, and where the receivers are going to go. So you add in all of that after seeing everything for a first year with his athletic ability, and now the confidence level is even higher. You're right. I think Pro Bowl, but all pro is something we could see in the next couple years from Quinyon Mitchell.
I mean,
experience.
Yeah, and that's the experience of playing at the high level, too, has really helped him. And he's developed into, like, he was a guy that was instincts alone, and the instincts were excellent, and a terrific athlete. But now he's got that extra knowledge, too.
Yeah, when you're playing against, two of the best receivers in the NFL, and Smitty and AJ, you tend to start picking up on things, little things that, and they talk to each other all the time. It's not just like, I'm going against the defense. No, you're going against your brother in arms. You and AJ are out there battling each other every day. You're not going to find a receiver as good as he is on either, on any team in the NFL. I mean, I think AJ probably one of the best, if not a top 3 receiver in the NFL. So going against him every single day. Then you have a starting receiver in Smitty. Going against him every day. You get that confidence. When you get in the game, it's easier. I'm going against a guy that's nowhere near as good as what I experience every day in practice. That means something when you go into a game.
Ashlyn, when you think about it, because there is a little bit of a question mark on the other corner side, Darius Slay is gone. He's on the other side of the state now. Do you think that puts more pressure on Quinyon that he maybe puts on himself?
100%, and he should. I mean, for your defensive coordinator to say publicly, hey, by the way, your sophomore season, you're going to shadow the best receivers in every game. That's massive pressure, but I think we all know that he can step up to that.
Absolutely.
I love his quiet confidence and just the way he goes about it. We all saw the mic'd up clip. I encourage fans who didn't see it to go to Eagles.com where A.J. Brown was mic'd up and he told Keeley, hey, I got him this rep. And that's something he's never going to portray publicly, but it's in him. And I think as a whole, to be able to say that you're going to shadow, the Jamar Chases of the world every single game is pretty impressive. And it's a lot to put on a young player, but I trust in Vic Fangio's judgment that he can do that. But it does put, because of that shadowing the best receiver, it puts a massive glaring hole on the other side of the field. We all know what offense they're going to do. They're going to target that other side.
Absolutely. And we saw that in the first preseason game when you mentioned Jamar Chase, obviously, on that one. 6 interceptions. We'll go for it. Maybe 2 in the Super Bowl alone. We'll get that 6 up there. But a Pro Bowl would be awfully nice for the kid. All right, Spencer, I think you have another question from the virtual world. And virtually, I don't know where you are.
Where's Spencer?
Virtually, I'm over here. How's everyone doing? Obviously a lot of hype with the Eagles' first-round pick, Jahad Campbell. So Jeremy wants to know, what's the likelihood we see Jahad Campbell in an edge rushing role, and will that usage hinge on some of the effectiveness and some of the other free agent acquisitions that the Eagles brought in this offseason?
That's a great question. John and I were literally just talking about this with the Eagles NBC 10 producer Rob Kessner. He's a guy that is such a tremendous athlete, and he's smaller than the person I'm going to give the comparison to, but just the way he moves around, he does give me Javon Curse vibes when he was with the Titans. Just his physical, freakish nature. If anything, he's a little bit maybe too aggressive. They've gotten on him during camp practices about don't touch the quarterback. The red jersey means stop. But John, here's a guy that traditionally linebacking, maybe not a traditional middle linebacker like you're looking at with Trot Jr., but the way that he plays, you just want to get him on the field in any way you can. And right now, it's going to be either linebacker or edge.
Absolutely. And poor Jeremiah Trotter Jr., because he had a really good camp.
Great camp.
And he has improved so much from last year. But when you see Jahad Campbell walk onto that field, and then you start to see him move sideline to sideline, the length that he has with his arms, batting down passes and coverage and things like that, you can't keep him off the field.
No.
But there are going to be, as Vic Fangio said, some hiccups. He has had some hiccups, and everybody on offense is saying, all right, maybe he has to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're going to see him fly all over the place. He's going to miss an assignment or misdiagnose something once in a while here, but you have to grow with him. And that's also the entire defense, because you're going to have a new safety next to Reed Blankenship. There could be some growing pains there if it's Andrew Makuba or Sidney Brown.
Right.
And then at the other corner spot. So you're going to have some growing pains.
Or Simmons. Howie.
Still out there. Still out there. But yeah, Jahad's going to be fun to watch, because I've asked former Eagles, can you give me a comparison of this guy like in the past? And like, I can't, because of his size, the way he's able to move and be all over the field. And it's in everything, the running game, coverage. And Vic Fangio said, that he is still very green as far as rushing the passer. But the fact that Vic Fangio is going to put him in week 1 at linebacker, that means you're going to see him rush from the edge at some points. Because
everywhere.
You got a V8 in that engine. You're going to go ahead and run it out.
Well, come on now.
We did get I know for you, car guy, we did get word that Anais Smith is going to be released by the Eagles. That is coming up. Obviously, they have to cut down their rosters to 53 men today, and that is one of that we were wondering how that might shake out. Anais Smith, obviously, with the injuries to Johnny Wilson and what was going to happen. But Spencer, you have something on the cut to the cut day.
James, you mentioned it. Day today, the Eagles let go Anais Smith. How do you think that now affects the wide receiver room? They obviously had the addition of John Mechie, but what does this wide receiver room look like now without Anais Smith?
Yeah, I mean, Ashlyn, we were on yesterday on Bird's Huddle, and we talked about Cooper and how he's really made, even though we don't like his roster number, and when he makes the team, we need 41 to go away. Just reverse it, make it 14, and call it even. But when they picked up John Mechie, you wondered who might be the expendable player, because 5 wide receivers is kind of the magic number. And Anais Smith probably thought he was sitting pretty when Johnny Wilson got hurt, but now you hear that he's going to be released. How do you think this is going to shake out?
I don't really think it's surprising, especially for us that watch training camp. Anais Smith, you would go practice and practice and practice, and you just frankly wouldn't notice him. And Darius Cooper forced you to notice him. For Jalen Hurts to say, I trust this guy after spending 3 weeks with him on a training camp field, spoke volumes to me. Jalen Hurts just doesn't throw phrases out like that. So this goes to show that Darius Cooper almost is going to. He had a good chance just because of his return specialist ability. I would imagine the Eagles don't want to put that pressure on Cooper DeJean to 1 play slot, 2 possibly play outside corner and safety. And hey, by the way, you're also going to be a return specialist. I thought that was going to be Anais Smith's role. Maybe if he doesn't clear waivers, that's a practice squad position, but I am a little surprised by that because I thought that was maybe a role he carved out there.
Even when you saw him in that role sometimes in the preseason, he struggled at times, even with whether it was the placement of where he was running his particular special teams route or even some of the miscues, kind of like a mental mistake. And I wonder how much that played into it, because Ashlyn's right. Here's a guy that you could put as a specialist, but maybe not valuable enough just to keep as a specialist in Anais Smith.
You know, I love this phrase, iron sharpens iron, and his iron just wasn't as hard as everybody else's. You know what I'm saying? It was brittle and it broke because you got guys stepping up. Just like you said, Darius Cooper stepped up. You had Johnny Wilson. He stepped up, but he's hurt right now. Now you're in a position like, all right, we got to cut this 53-man roster down. You have to make yourself invaluable to the team. You got to make sure you don't give them a chance to cut you, and they did. And a lot of these players that, are getting released because they didn't live up to what they were supposed to do. They didn't make that happen. He hasn't done really anything in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think he'll make it to the practice squad easily because he hasn't done anything. Nobody's seen him do anything. And that's not me talking bad about him, is what I'm seeing. And I didn't see enough for him to be on an NFL roster.
And sometimes that's a wake-up call. Yep. Sometimes it's something for these guys to realize, like, I can't
just because you're drafted.
Yeah,
doesn't
just
mean
because you coast through. We'll have to continue to monitor this as we are here live at the Comcast Center Plaza. We have another question out with the people. Spence?
Yeah, thanks, Ames. We have Tara, a.k.a. Reds, here with us. Obviously, Saquon had such a big season last season, but she's wondering about the backup running back position.
Yeah, what's going on with A.J. Dillon this season? What can we expect?
That's a great question, and I love that we're talking about the backup running back because Saquon's made us so comfortable, and that's my favorite thing. We're talking about like things that we're looking for. That's a real question because you do wonder what kind of workload they're going to put on Saquon Barkley. He had a tremendous workload, rightfully so, last year. Barrett, you love to say it, but they ran the ball. Even you were happy with the amount they ran the ball. Even you, as an O-lineman, I know you love that.
And
it's a lot. It's a lot for him. He's coming off a record as far as combined rushing yards in the postseason and in the regular season. Is it Will Shipley or is it A.J. Dillon for you?
It's both.
Yeah.
They're going to be systematically put in a position where, all right, this is where he's going to flourish and this is where he's going to flourish. 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 goal line situation instead of running two. We could put A.J. back there. A.J. Dillon has quads bigger than mine. So, I mean, we're talking about quadzilla. This guy has huge quad, and once he gets going one direction, it's going to be hard pressed for any defense to stop him. But then you got Will Shipley. I'm saying.
The ship. The ship.
he's one of those guys you could put in different situations in the passing game. You could put him in on first and second down because he can run. He's very adept at running, but he can also catch the ball out the backfield, put him in screen plays. I mean, things that you can, use his athletic talent to get out there in open space, and that's really where he can make things happen. So both guys can play in situations where you're going to be hard-pressed not to have the best running back. I'm sorry, the best player in the NFL not on the field.
Yes.
Saquon's going to be on the floor the majority of the time, but if you want to give him a break, you have two capable guys in situational football that can come in for him.
I mean, John, it's a nice problem to have. They have some reliable backs back there. Obviously, how you're going to use them is going to be completely different, as Barrett was just talking about. Is there a straight one-to-one comparison as far as okay, we need to give Saquon a spell. We're going to run these plays, but they're going to just be Saquon-type plays for AJ?
Yeah, see, that's one of the most fascinating things that I'm going to watch this year because you're coming off 482 touches for Saquon Barkley.
It's an incredible amount.
It's unheard of. And all those guys, the 8 other guys who rushed for 2,000 yards, none of them rushed for 2,000 yards again. And you saw what happened to DeMarco Murray here in Philly. Like when you're running the rock as much as you do and you're taking those hits, a lot of times he didn't take hits. He just ran to the end zone.
He's leaping over people.
Yeah. But he took some hits against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So it's going to be fascinating to see if they lessen his workload, if they do pass the ball a little more. But I think Will Shipley is the guy behind Saquon because he's got that burst. And he, as Saquon says, is the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
And
they
he now knows the lay of the land in the NFL. So I think he's going to be the guy. I think if you do need that short yardage situation, maybe AJ could go in and spell Saquon to give him a break. But I think Will Shipley is the guy to watch.
Yeah, I know you're a Ship fan.
I can't wait to talk about Will Shipley. I've been talking about
She's like champing at the bit right now.
For 2 years, to the point where I thought he was going to be the backup last season. I thought he had that good of a training camp. I think it's important to note, we've heard many offensive coaches tell us, don't look at it as just a backup role. There's such different backs in the way that they play this game. Will Shipley, I'm very curious if they get him involved in the passing game. We saw that a ton in training camp. We also saw that a ton in last training camp.
And the year before.
And we never saw it on the field.
And I was like, wow, I can't wait to see us as a wrinkle in an offense. Then I never saw it again. So I say that with a grain of salt. But I do think Will Shipley has pass-catching availability, and A.J. Dillon, I think, is that guy that is brought in a short yardage situation. I just think they're going to have two very different roles, and we shouldn't look at it as like one's a backup, one's not.
Right.
Yeah.
It's different roles. All right, Spencer, you got another question for us?
We do, Ames. Yeah,
Thanks,
here with my
Spence.
guy, Jerome. Jerome has another Campbell and high praise for Jahad Campbell.
Watching Mr. Campbell, I see just sparks and potential of Lawrence Taylor. He's got the speed, the size. If they just finish shaping him into the linebacker that he can be, I think he could be the second coming of LT. But in the Eagles uniform.
First of all, LT in the Eagles uniform would have been absolutely picture perfect, and we could all be there for that. It's funny because we go back, and I had this conversation recently in my household about LT being a linebacker. If you put LT in 2025, he ain't a linebacker.
No.
He absolutely an edge rusher, right?
Absolutely.
But here's a guy that revolutionized the linebacking game, probably the greatest linebacker of all time. The way that he was explosive, Barrett, is something that you rarely see anymore. Swoop's here. Swoop's excited. Woo. Swoop's ready for the season.
Absolutely.
But Jahad Campbell, that praise, I gave him Javon Curse, which I still think is a little bit of a stretch right now. But the way that he's able to move and the explosiveness, what Jerome was talking about, he could be that type of player as a guy that could really blow up plays coming off the edge.
Well, I'll tell you what, in Vic Fangio's defense, you may line up at the linebacker position, but they run a 5-2 defense where they have 5 defensive level, 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. The center's covered, and both guards and defensive ends, they're all covered. But it'd be linebacker-esque type of guys like Smith on one side, and they may bring Jahad Campbell down and bring in another linebacker in, and that'll be their run-stopping defense. He can play everywhere on the field. He started out as a pass rusher. Now he's a everyday linebacker. He covers. He does a lot of things very, very well. Very, very well.
What do you think about the LT comparison? You saw LT.
Yeah, I didn't play against LT.
No, I know you did.
I didn't know. I was going to ask.
No, I know he didn't.
Mr. White. I played against Mr. White, Reggie White.
You played against enough.
The best player to ever put on a uniform, a helmet, Mr. White. But LT was a different beast because you have to change how you block plays because of him. He revolutionized how to play defense because, all right, you're going to have a running back or a tight end on him? No, you got to bring an offensive lineman out there. So you had to make sure you had those type of matchups. He kind of tore up the league, and there'll never be another player like him. But I'll tell you what.
I'll take LT light if it's Jahad Campbell.
No, I mean, Esque. I'll take it also.
I'll take it esque.
Esque, yes.
Esque. Spence, I know we got another question about a contract.
We do, Ames. Here with my guy, Doe. Doe has an important question for an important off-season topic for next season.
I want to know Jared Carter. He's the best. Oh, he's the best, man. He helped us, man. I want to know, make sure that he get this contract. Because we need him. We need him.
Doe, you got a great...
Cock and Fletcher, what's your name?
Fletcher Cox.
Yeah. He's good, but I think he got his lead.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so this...
He's the best, man.
Jalen Carter is the best.
Spencer's not getting that mic back.
Number one.
Yeah,
Rule number one.
Jalen Carter fan club, but the appreciation there is twofold. One, that Jalen Carter is so good and exceptionally talented. But the other appreciation comes from Howie Roseman, because the one thing that I think we've seen here that we don't see anywhere else, like in Dallas or Washington, is that Howie Roseman gets ahead of these contracts, right? He gets these guys fair market value. It's not like they're underpaid, but he does get them for a deal sometimes. Jalen Carter, there's no doubt he's going to get a big payday. But you're looking to see what some of the guys are doing around the league. We just saw Trey Hendrickson basically just get a reworked contract for another $13 million. He's still done, so they're going to go through that again. Micah Parsons still doesn't have a deal. What are the chances, I would think, that they get this done without any question as far as Jalen Carter getting an extension, a substantial extension, John?
There's no doubt, because Howie Roseman always is ahead of the curve. Remember when Jalen Hurts became the highest paid quarterback for, a second?
2 weeks, yeah.
And then he's, 10th now or something?
Right,
Crazy.
right.
And A.J. Brown, too, was in that range, and now he's, I think, 7th, 6th.
Yeah, and just rest assured, this is why they had to let so many players go, because they are preparing for that. Fred Johnson, they couldn't re-sign him, backup offensive tackle, because they needed the money. Slay,
now he's
CJ
back.
Gardner-Johnson, now he's back. but like all these guys had to be let go to create the room for this signing that's coming, and a few others. And he always gets it done. I can't remember the last holdout for the Eagles. I remember the Chip Kelly era where Evan Mathis was going to hold out.
It was a bunch.
And then Chip's like, nah, you're done. We're cutting you. And then, before that there was some. But, yeah, I mean, Howie Roseman is so ahead of the curve. He knows Jalen Carter is going to break the bank. And I think the key is, you look at defensive tackles and how they're paid, but you can't pay Jalen Carter as a defensive tackle.
That's the thing. Yeah.
You pay him as a game wrecker and one of the most important pieces.
An anchor of that line.
Yeah.
That's what you pay him as. You pay him, I don't care what the position next to him, you pay him as the anchor of the line.
You pay him as the best player, the best defensive player on your team.
Yeah.
You can't look at him as a guy that's, all right, he's a defensive tackle. Because then you look at him, it's like, all right, he's an Aaron Donald-esque type of player. Maybe, John Randall-esque type of player. So you're going to pay him accordingly. If he goes into this year the way he's supposed to and knowing that he has the rec shop, understanding that this is time where he's going to make the biggest amount of money to set his family up for life, he's going to be playing with a whole different mindset. I mean, it's going to be almost an unstoppable force by this young man.
And honestly, it seems like so long ago, Ashlyn, we were talking about, can he get through the whole season? Is he going to hit that rookie wall?
Right.
He did a little bit the first year, and you thought, it's not. And then last year.
The whole defense did.
They did.
The whole defense
Jordan
did.
Davis, they all really did. But then last year you saw the monumental shift for him, and he took ownership. We saw in the offseason as far as his conditioning and how this is, and that's something that all these guys, I know, Barrett, you've spoken to, they all have to mature when it comes to that. But here's a guy that really has taken ownership, not just of his position, but of his defensive line and of the defense. And at such a young age, to be able to lock a guy like that in for an anchor of your defense would be huge for the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say he's going to be the highest paid defensive player when he does get this contract this offseason. And it's no question we saw the Eagles prioritize Zach Bond this offseason. You have to pick who you're going to prioritize. I think we all would say, that's the priority, is getting this done with him. But not even him, I think that whole draft class. I've been incredibly impressed with Jordan Davis. I mean, how much slack did he get? It was nonstop that we were talking about him and his weight and the Peloton. It was nonstop. For him to show up in the weight he is, and also
330.
We noticed so much he would play the first team defense, but then he'd be back up there again with the second team.
That's what's important.
All of training camp. His coaches put him through the ringer this camp.
Because they needed him to play
Double
more
the
than 1 or
snaps.
2
Testing
downs.
him.
Yeah, double the snaps, and for him to show up like that, I admitted it. I thought he was going to be a bust. I thought Jordan Davis was not going to show up, and he proved all of us wrong.
Yeah, because you thought he was going to be, all right, this is a guy you can only put out there 1 or 2 downs, and now you can leave him out there, which is a very key
They
fit.
got to pay Nolan also, Nolan Smith also.
Listen, Howie's got it all. He's moving the shells
He'll
around.
figure it out.
He's got the shells around. Spencer, you have another virtual question, Spence?
you, Ames, and always trust Howie Roseman. We've come to find out. I don't know if you guys watch Hard Knocks this season with the Bills. It's been great, but I think if the Eagles were on Hard Knocks this season, I think America would fall in love with wide receiver Darius Cooper.
Yes.
Doc4 on YouTube wants to know what your guys' thoughts on the surgeons Darius Cooper is, and I have a question for you guys. What do you expect out of Darius Cooper this season? Where is he going to be in that wide receiver room?
Yeah, this is a great question because here's a guy that, yes, I'm going to belabor it, 41. You got to get rid of that. But he's a guy that you can put out there.
Reverse the number?
Yeah, just reverse it. Make it 14.
Much better.
But you can do a lot of different things with him. I don't want to call them gadget plays necessarily, Barrett, but different looks. If you want to run something a little bit different, he's a guy that will give you a bit of a different look. He's not a traditional wide receiver when you look at him, but he has great hands. He has a good catch radius. And Ashlyn pointed out, Jalen Hurts has been really high on him.
Well, I actually, called his last collegiate game in college,
State.
Tarleton State against, South Dakota. And, doing my research before the game, I watched a lot of film on him, and they used him in that capacity. They used him as reverses, screens. They used him as an athlete. You could line him in running back position. So during that broadcast, I kind of equated him to Deebo Samuels. And that's the type of body type that he has. He has a thicker body type, stronger body type. But the biggest thing on him was he wasn't catching the ball consistently. Well, I'll tell you what, that's become one of his strengths in this camp. So he's like, I want to play at this NFL level. I got to take care of this. And he's definitely taking care of that. That's all they talk about is strong hands. His capacity in this game this year, I don't know if he really plays a lot because we don't really use our third or fourth receiver as much as many teams do. We're a lot, more, 11 personnel, one running back, one tight end, or 12 personnel, one running back, and two tight ends. So we use that instead of more so a lot of receivers in the team. But he can come in and spell some guys and be one of those guys that can catch slants, and he'd give you a big play if you put him out there.
Yeah, and I think here's a guy that has done everything. We talked about guys maybe not stepping up on the opportunity, John, but he has taken every opportunity and has really run with it and has made it so they can't cut him, I would think, or it's going to be awfully hard.
Yeah, and I've talked to some coaches, and they say he is one of the toughest players they have.
Right.
And so for the fact that he is beating out Aniyah Smith for the job,
right,
it's pretty incredible because I think Aniyah Smith, the thing they were concentrating on with him is just being a dependable returner. Make sure you catch the ball and be dependable because Aniyah, when he cuts and he can make people miss, I mean,
he's special too.
He's special. So for I'm a little surprised, actually, because of the return ability of Aniyah. Now, you can bring him up. He could be on the practice squad, and he could be coming up all the time, right? And he could return?
Yeah, absolutely. He can do that.
So I don't
Julian
necessarily...
Vanderbilt, back and forth.
But you can bring some guys up. So, the fact that Cooper has done this is exceptional, and they love his toughness. They love what he's about. But I don't think we've seen the last of Aniyah Smith.
No, we haven't.
It'll be interesting when they keep this going because, like we mentioned, Ashlyn, 5 receivers is kind of the standard that we've seen here. But there is that guy that's the question mark, and that is Aniyah Smith. But Darius Cooper is such an interesting player because you talk about his physical body type. They don't have anybody that looks just like him. They have skinny Batman and swole Batman and tall Batman, I guess if you want to call Johnny Wilson that. But he's a different body type.
He is. It's the contested catches that I think he is going to thrive. But I do think we're going to be so excited about Darius Cooper, and I just don't think we're going to see a lot of game reps from him because I do think we're going to see a bigger role from Jahan Dotson as well this season. Another guy that Jalen Hurts is really trusting and really throwing a lot to this training camp. I think if you're going to see anyone take a bigger step, it's going to be Jahan Dotson this year, where I do think Darius Cooper is going to get very limited snaps in game action. I think you're going to end this season saying, man, I wish I would have seen more from him.
Yeah.
Because there's only one football.
He's a camp darling. We could still like him. All right, we are almost out of time here as we are live at the Comcast Center Plaza. It's a beautiful day. We want to thank everybody for coming out. But before we go, we have to get our season predictions. Barrett, John, and Ashlyn, we're going to get what you think. I'm going to get your season prediction and if they win the NFC East, as John was alluding to. Go up.
I think they're going to go 13-4. And that's me being very, very...
Because that last game won't count.
Right. I mean, at the end of the game, it's not going to count. We already, locked up the NFC. I think they'll be 13-4. And then I do think that they win back-to-back years the NFC East.
First time in, I think, 24 years?
Yep.
23?
First team to do that since the Eagles did it?
Yes.
During the Andy Reid era.
Which is quite a long time. So you're 13-4. You'll have to tune in. You have to tune in for pregame live to see what is, if he's going to go for the Super Bowl or not. We have one more question over there.
Yeah, Ames, one more question with my guy Dre, who's looking great, and it's the Devontae Smith jersey, and
Sweet jersey.
he has the question that I think is on everybody's mind coming into the season.
What's the prediction for the Eagles during the season, or will he make it back to the Super Bowl as Super Bowl champs?
That's a good question, Dre, and that is a sweet Kelly Green. So, John, I'll start with you. What's your prediction, and do they make it all the way back?
I think they go 12-5. Am I getting the math right with 17?
You are.
Yeah.
17. We always have to add the extra one now.
12-5. Every team is going to be coming after them. They're only going to be, I think, underdogs in 2 games this year, the Chiefs and the Bills on the road. So I think 12-5. I do think they win the division again. They got to make sure they have that NFC title game at home.
Yeah, agreed.
They got to make sure they have the NFC title again. But I do think they're going back to the Super Bowl.
All right. I love it.
And where is it? Santa Clara?
Yes.
Santa Clara?
Yes.
Okay, California.
John's already set for
Reserve
February.
2 tickets. Reserve the flights.
Everybody's
Worst places to go in February, especially.
Listen, I'll go anywhere. I'll go to Minnesota.
Right.
If you
We've
really
done
want
it.
us to.
We've done it.
Yes.
Done. Check. What do you think about the record this year?
I'm with John. I do think it's going to be 12-5. I think especially that first month of the season, it's a pretty brutal schedule. I think week 5, they're going to be 2-2. We are going to lose our minds. It's going to be a very scary time to see. So I think let's remember that there is a very long season. I think they'll start 2-2. They'll end 12-5. They will win the NFC East, and it'll be Eagles and Bills in the Super Bowl.
Rationality has never had a residence here.
Let's play
so
this
we're
back
not
week
gonna
5.
Go ahead
It's
and
going to be
subscribe
okay.
to that. We will freak out, and that's what we were able to do because we are sitting pretty as the defending Super Bowl champs and fans of the Eagles. We want to thank everybody for coming out. It was a great day here. I hope everybody got their Mr. Softy. They took their pictures back there. But for Ashlyn Sullivan, John Clark, and Barrett Brooks, I'm Amy Fadool. Thanks so much for joining us for our Eagles Q&A. Don't forget, of course, we have Birds Huddle today coming up at 6 o'clock. And, of course, a week from Thursday, it's the first game, pre-game live, coming your way on Thursday night. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you.